Okay, calling the meeting to order, do roll call. JP, go ahead.
JP's here.
Tommy Grant.
Brian Wolf.
Tiffany Southard.
Beth McFarland. Rainey Conger.
And Terry is excused, and Brady Oxender is here. Eric will not be here today. I took minutes off the agenda because we have a lot and I haven't finished them yet, so we'll do them at the next meeting. So we'll go right into village planning, and actually, before we do that, I'm gonna take a point of personal privilege. I just want to thank everybody for the work on the code rewrite and remind you all that we did it right and we did a good job, that there are folks who have made other things illegal in other municipalities, but none of them have done it specifically through who they have zoned out or how they have written their zoning code, which, you know, again, only goes to say, I think we worked really hard and I think we put together a good plan and one that, you know, council can improve upon if they choose to, but don't let anybody tell you that we didn't do it the right way. So I just want to put that out there and thank everyone for their work. With that, we'll move on to the green space discussion. Eric and I put our heads together and wrote down a big old list of everything we could think of and sent that out to you guys. So what I would like to do at this meeting is low-hanging fruit. If there's things that you want on the list, let's add them. Then I'd like to put, I'd like to do stars and X's. If there are things that we absolutely know that we all want to do and want to discuss further, we'll put a star next to it. And if there are things that we all agree don't need further discussion, we'll put an X next to them. Then we can come back later and work harder and have more conversations on the things that aren't slam dunks one way or another. So I'll start. Is there what's missing from the list?
Internet doesn't work. I can't pull my list.
Sucks to be you.
Sucks
So
to be me.
village-wide Wi-Fi?
You don't have mobile data that connects?
I am. It doesn't.
It's a dead
doesn't
zone.
like my
You can look
ceiling. Okay,
Yeah.
here we go.
Can I
Okay.
share?
Do you just want to start at the?
So yeah, so
I have my internet feed right here.
No, that's fine.
That's what I usually do.
Tree
so
killer.
just under general things that do
Okay.
not pertain to any specific area, disc golf.
Yes.
Is that something that we want to?
Well,
Is that
let's-
something we want to say no to?
Oh, no.
Is that something we
Sorry.
want to
Yes.
Keep
say
on the list.
yes, absolutely,
Absolutely.
Right.
or
I think-
more discussion?
I think I think it's okay to, my opinion is that it's okay to say okay,
Right.
but I still think it's nowhere near done.
Oh
right?
no,
There's-
we won't be done for a
Yeah,
long
there's a
time.
whole
Yeah.
lot more to consider and plan and design to make sure it actually fits in the space available.
Right. The big question is, should we talk about it after today?
Yeah.
So yes, and we're all, I think, in agreement.
Is there anybody that's absolutely no on that?
I would know on it.
What about you?
I'm good with it. I think it's worth exploring, because I think we don't know a lot of things about it still. Like what would it cost and those kind of things. So
Yeah.
I'd like to know more about that
Yeah.
for sure. So I'm very curious.
Yeah, I would say I'm
20, 50 grand.
probably going to be a no, but I'm not a no yet. So we'll leave that
Okay.
on the list for discussion.
So strong maybe.
I mean, we will discuss it after
Yeah.
today.
Okay.
As the-
And not that I don't, and I would just want to qualify that, not that I don't like disc golf or think that, you know, that the presentation and the time and effort they put into it was really well thought out and what they did, but I just kind of look at it interacting with the pathways is a concern, the maintenance, like keeping it, the maintenance is a concern, and also that there's like a really high value, two of them, very good disc golf courses close by, like 2 miles or 4 miles, within 4 miles. So I'm kind of like, what would be the benefit of having it here over those other ones? So when I look at like everything on the list, I'm like, yeah, that one for me is, it's kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I share your concerns.
So anyway,
Yeah. I think those are really good points.
Yeah, but I think that's exactly why we need more discussion, to make sure that it can
right.
fit.
Right.
Right? To say no before we're certain is premature.
Oh, then you're
In
not.
my opinion.
Love the next one then.
Dog park.
Nope.
So that I'm a no on.
That one I don't care.
So
I don't have a dog,
I
it
wanna say
doesn't matter
why,
to me.
if Monroe Park residents were really good about keeping their dogs on leashes, I'd be all for it, but we can't even control that, so I'm gonna
Well,
say no.
so it's, I don't have all the data, but I know that I have seen dozens of videos on the internet of people walking through vet clinics and say, hey, now that you've worked in a vet clinic, what's something you'd never do with your dog? And take them to a dog park is always one of those, because they're not safe for dogs, they're not safe for people, right? It's a place for dogs to share diseases, they're a place for misbehaving dogs to damage other dogs, it's...
And creates some insurance liability, no doubt. for
No,
the village.
no matter how big the sign is saying
Right.
dogs play at their own risk, if nothing else, it's bad press to then turn around and say, yep, your dog is eaten at the thing. So I'm a no on dog park.
Would anybody like to discuss it further after tonight? Okay,
I want that thing to go so far down that list
it's off the list. So
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
as
off
of
the
now,
list
it's
for
off the
now.
list. It will not
I
be
want
a
it
part of
whited
any green
out
space plan.
to where you can't even see what it was.
She would like to cut it
No,
out,
we
light
are
on
leaving it
fire.
on, and it will be transparent on the record. This is something we discussed,
Yeah,
and we
okay,
as
absolutely.
planning and zoning decided not to move forward on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bat houses.
I'm a
Oh,
yes.
that is not my favorite either.
bad
If it is
houses.
out of sight, out of
Bad
mind, do not
houses.
put it anywhere near me, but I understand the benefits, so I am not a, I am a,
She's
don't
a-
tell me where they are.
She's a NIMBY on the.
So,
on
right.
Not in my backyard.
So the benefit to bat houses is in the number of bugs and mosquitoes specifically that they can eat daily. I installed a bat house at my mom's house this weekend.
Thought he was gonna say down the street.
It's this big, it goes as high up in a tree as you can get it. And then aside from the bat leaving and the bat coming back, it's a better house than the attic, than the chimney, than the garage, and so it chooses to live there.
Right.
And, they make bat colony houses, and then they make little bat houses. I think that if the village could get to a point that the majority of the vocal folks on social media anyway, if the village could get to a point where we didn't have to worry about spraying for mosquitoes because we had bats that took care of mosquitoes, I think that would be
Yeah.
a service.
It
The
would
other
be a
thing
lot
is
cheaper.
There's no maintenance, it's a one-time cost, once you put up the house, you wait for the spring and they show up, and if they don't, hopefully one shows up the next spring. And I think they make permanent houses, so.
Yeah,
How long do they
it's
usually,
worth- Oh, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, how long do they usually last? Like, what's bat house maintenance? Do you have to paint it every year? Like, do they
At
fall
least,
apart
I mean,
after
no,
10?
I mean,
like
I
you're
think
you're
that's-
Like
making these out of like
cedar
So
that's
it's-
Cedar.
This could be,
Yeah,
it
it
could be a Boy
depends.
Scout project, right?
could.
And like ways that they could sell.
and it's something
It
you
could be a school project
It
for
could
a
be a-
science
yeah,
class.
right.
yeah,
There's a lot
and
of
you
different
put
shop
them
class.
they don't love to be on trees, but they like to be on poles. It's getting in and out, right?
Okay.
If there's too many branches.
Yeah,
They like to
yeah,
be on, they like
echolocation
to be
part.
on the side of houses, they like to be on the side of buildings. It could also be something if we could find a way to get cheap ones and we could ask neighbors to volunteer, do you want a bat house? We'll give them away for free if you put them
Yeah,
up.
I think it's good for discussion, because there's a lot of ways that this can go. Everything from a big colony that we could put, in that bit of land that is the villages on the south side of the South Lake, right? That's been discussed in the past, but there was never two nickels to squeeze together. So now we have a couple more nickels, so that can be part of the discussion, right? There's a lot of ways we can do something to subsidize people putting them up in their own yards. All of
Yep.
that should be in the discussion, but I
Good.
think for now, if the purpose of this is to
Leave it on the list.
have the discussion, let's.
Further investigate.
Yes, further investigate.
So let's talk pickleball. Leave it on the list or hate it? Like,
So
what's-
I don't like it, but it should stay on the list. I think our biggest problem with this is where, right? Because we are running out of developable land, and so it'll be a trade-off discussion. But I think that we should have the discussion to have a
I
trade-off.
think there's enough people that are I'm not interested in it only because I don't know anything about it.
It is the fastest growing sport in America.
I have heard that,
They
so.
love telling you that.
And I will tell you that I think it's important to residents, so I think it's important to keep it on the list and
Yeah.
continue to see if it's something you can make happen until it can't.
Is there anybody who thinks it should not be on the list? Okay, we'll discuss it. A sledding hill.
No.
Off the list.
No. It's a good idea.
Find your own.
I think that there are liability issues above all.
There's liability issues, we are very limited in hills that could be a sledding hill.
And one of them's into
And-
somebody's backyard and they do not like it.
And one of them's into somebody's backyard and they don't like it, there's,
So-
so I don't think we
I
have,
don't think there's an appetite for it.
Well,
Yeah.
so I mean, the biggest question I have is there a safe place for it? Like, I'm not going to be cool with sinking money into building a hill.
right.
So
And
if a hill does not exist that would be good for the community to invest time and energy into turning into a sledding hill, then
I
I
am
thought the
not
area
aware.
we looked at, we talked about, we would need engineering for.
Yes.
Unless there was another one that I don't remember that
a
was
former
not.
member had so many different places to put sledding hills and so many different things to build sledding hills out of. But the only place that I think in earnest was actually looked at was off of Quiet Brook.
Correct.
Where, you could engineer it into a fence or you could leave it as it goes into a rocky woods.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with saying
Off the
that,
list.
that
I'm
while
also-
I would love to have one, I don't think that this is something that we should be investing our energy in.
There's actually a great one across the street on Ponderosa.
Yeah, that's where we used to go.
I was on the golf
I
course.
think we all agree.
It's very
I like
dangerous
this.
over there.
I like the Sharon Woods one myself.
Yeah,
Um,
Elm Creek.
Walking
That's one of the
path
better-
improvements is the next one, and this is
Yes.
this is a huge, this is a very open-ended item. This could be repaving, this could be new walking paths, it could be a boardwalk, it could be.
Yeah, this is on the list.
So this is,
That'll probably stay on the list for the next 50 years.
right,
Yep.
I think.
I think there will, until they are perfect, we can always talk about improving.
Well,
that
and
could
as
be-
soon as they're perfect, wait a year and they're gonna.
They're not.
Exactly.
That should be like the Minerva Park motto. If you see people, if you want to see people walking, go to Minerva Park. 'Cause it's
Oh,
like
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
always.
When I don't walk for like a couple hours, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you for days. How often do you guys
Well,
say that?
you spent like
I
a good
know.
month and a half not walking.
People notice, I will tell you.
But
It's
when you
important.
walk 3 times a day otherwise, and then you're just gone. So exercise areas might not be familiar to everyone, but there were discussions in previous years on several thoughts. And there was, putting a dedicated off to the side of a trail exercise area, chin-up bars and things like that. And then there was also discussion about, so I'm giving you the 2 extremes and then there's everything in between, is along the trails having, like that series of stumps or felled trees that you can jump and, do your steps up and down, or, more natural things to encourage exercise, and everything in between. So is that spectrum something that should have more discussion?
Yeah. It's, if nothing else, it's super broad. And so more discussion is needed to narrow down what is reasonable and possible and then what is worthwhile.
Right. And then what can you actually do? We've tried to put things along the path. Everything that even just the benches, people have destroyed. So how could
Yeah, and
making it
there's-
feasible to what could we put that people couldn't destroy
I mean,
is
there
probably the
are-
number one.
There are heavy duty
You'd have to.
exercise equipment things that, a wooden bench is
I like
gonna.
the step up ideas and things
Yeah,
like
or,
that.
Yeah.
on the other extreme, if you've got, 3 metal bars in 2 feet of concrete,
It's not
making
gonna
a
work.
chin-up
Exactly.
bar, that's
I
awfully
feel like
hard to
that's about the
destroy.
only thing we're gonna be able to do is things that can withstand rainstorms and
Yeah,
kids.
Well, I think if someone has a giant tree come down in their yard and they just slice it up in a certain way, they could make steps, and
Well,
who
but-
cares if they get destroyed?
but then as soon as you invite a person to use that thing on our path, now we have to say, is that safe enough to invite a person to use that thing on our path. And if it's not, quite honestly, if it isn't, you know, commercially produced stuff, I'm always gonna say, I don't think that's safe enough to use on our paths, because we can't certify it. There's no control on that. But, and that is, in the long and the short of it, a big concern.
I think it's
So-
probably
so
worth
more
talking
discussion.
about. I think
But
it's
more
worth,
discussion.
yeah, I think it's definitely worth continually.
Um,
The people are active, so what else can we do to help them?
Right.
So the next is sidewalks, and that one is also very broad. And so I think, you know, there are two discussions to have, and one of them is along the walking path improvements to say, is there maintenance that we should look into? Are there sidewalks that just stop for no good reason?
Yes.
And so is that something we should look at? Number two, should we discuss sidewalks in the Minerva Park Legacy Plan District area?
So there's
Sure,
a
it's-
there's a
well.
couple things to that. I mean, we are gonna have a large road project that's gonna be up Minerva Lake Road. Is that something that we could tackle before then? Cause we're probably talking 2025. We know that there's some places that do just randomly stop. I kinda looked at it on my way through here a couple times, the last couple meetings that we've had. And short of cutting some of those really large trees down, which is probably why it stopped, I'm gonna assume that's probably why they have it on the other side. I don't know how to make it work to where you aren't cutting those down. There's a fire hydrant, there's a couple huge trees, huge. So I don't know if we could, you know, I don't know legally how wide it has to be. I don't know any of that stuff, but I can definitely tell you we will have some upset people when we have to cut a couple of those trees down.
Okay, so we should talk about it.
But I think we should,
talk about
It's a discussion.
yeah, I mean, I would love to see a walking, everybody cover up the recorders. I would love to see a walking something down Minerva Lake Road. I didn't say both sides, I didn't say where, I didn't say anything. I would love a magical option to appear. I don't know that it ever will, but
There's nothing for just the safety of the people walking.
correct.
You know,
We have a lot of walkers.
That's always my fear is nobody wants to do anything until there's a tragedy, and then it's like a whole why didn't we do
Right.
something when
Right.
we had the chance, and it's like
But then you're gonna get the not in my front yard. So it's
There's
like, which
also-
side do you pick, which side?
It's, okay, I suspect that anything like that on any of the Minerva Park Legacy Plan District is going to be an engineering nightmare.
Oh,
sure.
absolutely.
And
Between
will be-
driveways, trees.
Well, just, you know, we're not all, none of those lots are graded in a fashion that will make that feasible, right?
Or
So when you-
uniformed in a way that
Yeah,
would make any
so,
of it
so
reasonable or
there
easy.
is, so, you know, just off the top of my head, right, my lot is like 4 feet higher
Than the others.
than
Yeah.
the one that's up the hill from me. And then the one around me, the one that's down the hill from me, they're on the peninsula. So then that one, you'd have to knock down at least 30 pine trees to run a sidewalk
Mm-hmm.
along that edge. The other side of the street across from that is the Mary Yost Garden. So
Right.
we're gonna take up the Mary Yost Garden for a sidewalk. Then that's just the 4 houses right around me.
So that's worth keeping on the list for discussion
Oh,
for some
we can
areas or not.
discuss.
and
Right,
then-
Right.
right.
But,
So
yeah.
Some are gonna come
sidewalks
right off
broadly,
I
but
just-
probably in specific areas, it's gonna be
Yeah.
a non-starter.
I just feel like that is all I would wanna meet it with, is that it's gonna be an engineering nightmare.
Sure.
And we have already seen that. But by the schools and things like that, there's gotta be some additional thought
Yeah,
going
and
through
so,
those.
so the nice thing is that there are residents and there are folks in the administration and elsewhere who look at it and say, why is it like this?
Right.
And we can task ourselves with finding out why it's like
Yeah.
this. And not only why is it like this, but does it need to be?
Right.
And then we can present our findings to council and they can make decisions. And that's the whole reason to have a written green space plan, so that as folks turn over, as folks come and go, as folks forget, we can say that we
Right.
did the work, we did the legwork, and here's why we said yes, and here's why we said no, and here's what we thought was a good idea, and here's why. So that's the plan, the plan for all of this. So I think to get the answers is the goal, right? And then let council do what council wants to do. So those are the things under general and miscellaneous. Is there anything that you would say is a village-wide, or something that we don't have a specific place for, that you want to be discussed.
Is that sidewalks and curbs, or is curbs under street?
Yeah, is there a separate streets section here? Yeah, I'd just throw curbs underneath sidewalks, just as
I
another.
will add that.
Because
as-
that's
as a good
when you
call.
walk along, it'd be nice to see some uniformity around that, whereas there's, but
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and curbs would be a way easier than sidewalks.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it will now be a. It'll be separate.
Right?
We'll have sidewalks and we'll have curbs. Those will be two different things we can
If all the
discuss.
streets had curbs, then we could actually do a street sweeper program.
I don't.
I know, right?
It's totally off topic, but I'm still not sure why they didn't do curbs along this roadway by the school. And my only thought could be is water drainage.
For the little
The
exit
little
road?
exit road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, both. I mean, in either, because
Oh, I bet all the water would then flow into the parking lot, right?
correct,
Yeah.
and then it would be even more
It'll
of a
take some
problem.
of the
But
people's front yards, but
it was a
Never
point of
know.
concern when my kids are first walking there. I'm like, all these drivers are gonna be my
Yeah.
phone.
I'm
and
waiting
they
for
put the
it.
fence up, but I thought a curb. Hey, that's it's,
Yeah, but then it would send all the water right to the front door.
yeah,
So
that's a separate issue.
okay. Black Sycamore Pond is the pond closest to Black Sycamore. We went and we walked it. We walked up to Hidden Pond and came back through the brush. So again, very broadly, and again, this is on one line, it could be two lines, but landscaping and what I'm calling aquascaping. Are there things to be done to beautify the area, and then are there things that could be put in the water to make the water?
can we not talk about in the water right now, only because that is already being done?
At Black Sycamore?
As of right now, we are in the process of putting electric on all of our ponds, except for the hidden one. And we will be determining whether or not it's gonna be fountains or aerators in one, all of the above. That's a council project right now, so I don't wanna steal your guys' thunder, but we're already there.
Will those take care of will simply moving the water take care of the,
It's not gonna do anything for your landscape, so I would still continue to talk about that. Moving the water will help in some aspects, but landscaping still needs to be discussed and all of that, and the edges, but other than
right,
that,
and that's, yeah, I think.
Is that what you mean?
As opposed to keeping the water clear, we're talking about the stuff that's growing in the water and reducing the size of the ponds. That's in my mind is the
So
issue.
the fountain or aerators will help reduce algae.
yes.
Right,
But
but
that's
not
about it.
dogwoods and not
No.
No.
the weeds
They're not gonna
that
do
are
any of that.
growing up through.
We cleaned them out last year
Right.
once, and now at this point, it's, what do we wanna do?
Right.
We don't have a regular maintenance plan on that, and that's too big that's just gonna need to be a full maintenance plan.
Right, and what we did with the lily pond
Mm-hmm.
was a pretty good one-time,
Right.
long-term fix. And so that's in my mind, is that something we want to discuss frankly for all the
Are
ponds?
we getting cattails in there again?
I don't know, I haven't.
Yes, there are
Uh-huh.
cattails there.
Yeah.
And there's bullfrogs in the cattails. Get closer to them because they don't see you coming in the cattails. Just let me
Okay.
know in case you're interested in bullfrogs.
Not today. But I like them more than bats.
I prefer cow frogs,
Pig frogs.
heifer frogs if you got them.
So landscaping, aquascaping, we'll discuss
Yeah.
for Black Sycamore.
Yep.
Yep.
How about a walking path around
Sure.
that pond?
Yeah,
Yes.
What do you mean by that walking path versus the other walking path
So
improvements
this-
in general?
This is, walking path improvements in general is the whole village. This is specifically
A walking
Around
path.
a walking
there.
path around Black Sycamore Pond.
Remember we were sitting out there when you broke your arm or whatever, or your leg? And
No,
we
it was a
were,
leg, thanks.
it was, sorry. We were talking about how it'd be cool
does
to
not
walk
look like
around
her.
that Black Sycamore.
And you were like, it would just be cool to walk.
Yeah.
Right, that's
Pretty much. That's how that kind of, I don't know if you remember that.
Is that something that we'd like to discuss more?
I agree, I think so.
There was talk at one point about putting a small walking dock into Black Sycamore.
I think that's a
Pond.
wonderful idea.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be
That's
cool.
a terrible idea.
Is there-
In a little lake. I think it would be better in the big lake.
Actually, I was just gonna say, when you know how awesome that would be to have a dock in River Lake. You know, you walk up, there's a historical sign, and there's that bench. How cool if we extended that out right there in the corner, so people could walk out, maybe feed the duck peas, whatever they feed ducks. Maybe.
I'm in agreement
It's
on that.
illegal to feed,
Okay, definitely.
Well, but
86
is
F.
no, it's illegal to feed geese in the
Okay,
village.
86
But we also have a designated
for
geese
fishing.
feeding zone.
That's what I meant to say for
But
fishing.
fishing, yeah.
But for
I
the
mean,
black
people are
sycamore-
down there all the time fishing off the bank.
Although
I think the black
I can
sycamore
also see
pond
that
personally
back.
is too small for a dock.
So I'm
I think it would be
adding
much more
a
interesting.
Minerva
in that
Lake
area.
Okay.
bullet point and putting a dock on that. Do we wanna say at this time, no dock for Black Sycamore, but have further discussion on one at Minerva Lake?
I don't want to kill the idea, but you might be right on it. Might be
Yeah,
too small.
I mean,
Could be too small. It's possible.
I don't know enough about
I don't
the
The depth and all that.
the
Yeah.
bathymetric data for that body of water.
I don't want to.
So I don't know
It's
what the, yeah,
I think it's 3 feet deep at its deepest.
okay,
I don't want to ruin that whole area and put a dock there.
But it is.
and then what is the intention of the dock? Is it just for a person to stand out
Well,
there and fish, or is it
yes.
To look at.
put a
And-
canoe in or a kayak in?
No, the
or-
original discussions were, and again, this is why things are on the list, is to have this discussion with intent, but the next item is fish. And so there was a thought that if that would be the most reasonable pond to stock.
Would it though? Because it's not.
None
So
of them
there's-
are deep, it's the biggest.
But if
It gets really gross and smelly and overgrown with stuff. Like, would it just kill the fish? Like,
Right,
could
would-
they survive in it?
Right, it would have to be,
Depending.
stocking with fish would not be dumping fish in it. It would be getting the entire pond in a place that could sustain
Yes.
fish and then
And
stocking them.
It would also depend on the fish you stock.
Right.
Right, because you can stock the right kind of fish that eat the little bit of algae, that yada, 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 and we're not gonna keep fish from getting in there because birds
Yeah.
move fish around like it's their job.
Speaking as
We'll just
somebody
do
who
that.
had to chase down
If
a
we just-
goose that had a fishing hook in its arm,
Yeah.
I am not a fan of fishing at those ponds.
All right.
The fishing
This is a
wire.
better idea.
Yeah, you will still
The-
not,
I know.
The way those
Not
ponds
keep
are,
fish from
any
showing up
overflow
in there.
water, the birds,
It's
if
the
it's
fishing
naturally
line.
stocked with fish over
well,
time.
that,
that's it. But
I
why
mean,
spend money
stocking it
on
with
something that's
fish
naturally
and
gonna
encouraging fishing are two
occur?
different
And then
things.
it's also kind of the point where we don't want to start throwing stuff.
They
around,
are,
just like,
because
ooh,
you can
that-
post it, no
You know,
fishing.
maybe backfire.
Right.
So maybe just leaving it pretty alone and going, like, I don't want to say take it off for good, but I almost want to say take it off for good.
What do you think? Let's move it around.
We're talking about,
Fish.
so if there's,
Finches.
right now, we're talking about both the fish and the dock. If
And we're just
Do we-
talking about Black
Black Sycamore.
Sycamore.
And we're just talking about Black
Because-
Sycamore. Do we
I'll
want
go.
to link the
Yeah.
two of those?
We'll just take them both.
I feel like
out.
that's what Minerva Lake is for.
Yeah. Because like Brian said, they will naturally be stocked over a period of time. Why pay for that? You know?
I'm fine with taking it off the
And if
Black
it-
Sycamore list.
Because even if the fish do survive in that little, then that's cool. That's what they're meant to be there for. You know, let
Until
nature do
the
its
drought
thing.
of 2024, and then there's just dead fish all in the.
Does anybody want to further discuss stocking fish and or putting a dock at Black Sycamore?
No.
No.
Okay.
You don't get to vote.
Why?
You're not on the committee, honey. You have to
don't get
grow
to
up
vote.
and be on the committee.
Oh, no, no.
Actually, we have public comment period.
She can comment,
Um,
but she
You
doesn't.
guys
do?
can both get, what is it, 5 minutes after we
5
finish our
minutes.
discussion. You can say whatever you want as long as it's about what we talked about.
We will start the timer.
Benches at Black Sycamore,
Sure.
I like
Ooh,
It's
yeah.
now, you can sit on it if you
Yeah.
broke your leg.
right?
Yeah.
And the thought, yes, was to do more of that. And that was, didn't Chipper just drag that one over while we were there?
Yeah, you did.
Did he?
Yeah.
That was nice of
It
him.
was a different, it was further down.
And look how fast it was used.
There you go. So I think if that's not already done, we can discuss it. And then this is potentially a village-wide question, but is most noticeable, is very noticeable of Black Sycamore, is goose removal.
That's what I was laughing about, by the way.
Wouldn't we want geese removal?
I'm,
No, just one.
Just
Just
Every
one?
year it's a
Okay.
token geese. We
Okay.
tell other ones, look what we're doing to him,
we said
and
no
hope it
harm.
scares the rest of them away. No, I actually,
I would love this to go around this room.
yeah.
Not throwing anybody under the bus,
Yeah,
but
I would rather we not do goose removal,
Okay.
but
Oh, that
That's
was
just
my
me.
idea.
Um,
I was joking about the.
No, I mean, this is good. This is why I am for it. I mean, especially if we're gonna discuss walking path improvements, because nobody wants to walk just through as much goose poop as sometimes we have to.
What does that look like? What is
There's
used
So
for
there
different
are
options.
a couple different ways you can do it. The two most, I think, popular probably are you hire a company that has dogs and they bother the geese enough that the geese leave and they find some other municipality to live in. So you are not killing geese, you're just making them very unwelcome. I knew what you can do with a fireworks company. Then
You see?
the other option
Yes.
is
Ghostbusters is what that's called.
the other option is that you can spray something effectively on their eggs that keeps them from hatching.
Yeah, well, one
Isn't
year.
it poking them or something?
Yeah, one year we got whatever the appropriate ODNR permit was to disturb the nests.
Yeah.
And so we actually had a special thing and you kind of punctured it and it scrambled the egg.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
If you can keep their eggs from hatching without them knowing, then they won't breed again.
Right.
If you
And then-
destroy the
and then
nest,
they
then they'll
won't
immediately
come back.
breed again. So those are the two ways. I think the village probably would be most in favor of the dogs, of making them feel unwelcome as opposed to.
I thought the idea of cutting.
And that has come
like
up
around the lake.
in,
You just cut it
1,000
back like
times.
2-3
Yeah.
feet, and that'll keep the geese from kind of coming around, so they don't have a place to kind of hang out.
So yeah, I mean there's aquascaping too, but you walk up and down.
Yeah, the pathways.
Walk down Jordan when
That's
they've
what my
decided
cons-
to live there.
That's what
Yeah,
my
they got their
concern
share
is.
there.
They're back in my yard again.
Right, and so.
Because you have a pond in your yard again.
Right, so once
Well-
that's gone, I'm wondering if it will, my concern is we do have water problems in a couple different places that they leave Minerva Lake or they leave we have so many different bottles of water.
Are we just gonna chase them around in
Bodies of
circles?
water.
is what you're
And
saying?
yeah.
that's what I'm concerned about with as many different, and maybe people have way more than that, I would love to hear what they're,
So should we
Gary.
try to learn more about it, or should we say that it's not worth getting into?
I think it's a topic that comes up. I think for us to eliminate it off of there is probably a bad idea. I think we need to have more information to say yes or no to
Yeah.
get it off there. Like, does this actually work? And I'm gonna say, I'm not in favor of doing anything with the eggs or whatever, so I like the idea of trying to scoot them out of here. And it's not that I couldn't be talked into it, I'm gonna say it, because I also don't like the dirty, nasty stuff.
So,
But
like,
if they're only
if
gonna go
we-
over to here or there, and there's
Yeah,
not any
if
guarantee and
we
it's
called a
$20,000 I'm
company-
out.
Yeah, if we called a company, if we left this on the list, we got to the point down the road where we called a company, they came and
That
gave
has
us a
been
free
done.
quote,
They,
and they said
we've done that.
It
I
will
don't-
cost how much, and
Let me
what
find
kind
out.
of guarantee do they have, and how big is the service area, and then once we have that information, we can pass that along to council and
Yeah.
they can make a good
We
decision.
had a
So
council
it
person do it
has-
last year.
Yeah, Councilperson McNamara had done some investigation, but it got too late for us to take action on it, and so.
Because you have to do it at a certain time.
Yeah, you gotta be there in the springtime when they're starting to nest to scare them off, yada, yada.
So let's get that information again,
Yep.
let's talk
Okay.
about this
It'd be
one
nice
more
Good idea.
time to
Because I
know
think
it.
you probably mitigate it. You wouldn't necessarily eliminate the problem. just-
Unless the company offers
We do it at our,
a guarantee.
at Ohio History Connection, that's what they did, they had goose all the time, and they did that, they've been doing it, I don't know, 4 or 5 years.
They're not-
Yeah.
So you do
Not
have to
there.
keep doing
That's
it.
what I'm about. I
Well,
don't wanna hurt
yeah,
any animals.
Each year, whatever.
Scaring
I
them
think
is one
so,
thing,
I was
be able to go
surprised they
away,
were out
but
there,
I
cause
don't
I
wanna
haven't
hurt
seen,
There's no
I haven't
appetite.
seen them
Okay.
out there, so. We have groundhogs now, but,
So do we. I have one in my front yard right now. We videotaped it earlier today.
yeah, but.
So it's my
Alright, so
daughter.
we leave it on the
Okay.
list.
So
Anything-
geese removal will remain on the list for more information, so that maybe
But
we'll
people
fall
like
off
the
the list
dogs.
after that.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm sure.
We could remove the leash law and then allow, never mind.
Turn Black Sycamore into a dog park.
We were
Um,
talking about.
You guys had better
Yeah.
stop it.
We did have a border collie that, yes, a few times we may have gone running at the geese with. I'm just saying, it is fun.
And
The
it
geese all
works.
fly, and then they don't come back for a couple of days.
Jeez.
Bring them to my house.
Moving on, the green space behind Black Sycamore. So this is, it goes down, it's where my dream was
Shelter.
dashed to have the shelter down there.
deer
It's
sleep there.
that muddy area that would not be good for a shelter. So there was a discussion about improving upon that cart path, and again, this is walking path but specific, improving upon that walking path so that folks get up to Hidden Pond. then clearing the brush for activities, planting native plants and sunflowers, and a shelter. Again, it was my idea originally, I'm gonna be the first one to say it this time, to take the shelter off the list. The amount of work that would need to be done to keep that safe and dry is just not worth it.
I'm gonna have a non-popular opinion on this. I love the area when I walk through there, with the exception of we have a little bit of a issue with the cart path, like there's a bridge issue that we are aware of. Other than that, I would love to see nothing touched over there. I think it's your green space, I think it's your, I'm not saying you can't plant some natives or something like that, but I feel like it's it's like one of those places that you can actually walk through there. It's very pretty. Even with maybe non-native plants, I don't know the difference between any of them. Everybody knows that about me, and it's just very pretty. There's nothing wrong with that area, and I would hate to take anything away from it. Now, if you want to expand on colors or make it prettier, that's great. But additional walking paths or anything like that, I'm out.
My thought would be maybe, because I like that idea, and not doing anything with it, but maybe trying to plan for something maybe in 30 years in the future. Like, what if you could plant additional trees that would help sop up that wetness, and then in 30 years, if it's has a little bit of a pathway to get to the same place, maybe that can be
Something else.
our children's problem.
Put a willow in there and let that suck up
giant
some
willow.
water or something.
Whatever, make it local, make it native, as long as what makes everybody happy.
Does anyone wanna discuss a shelter down there?
No.
Okay. so
In
that-
30 years, like he says, when we dry it up, we will.
So that's off the list. Does anyone wanna discuss a walking path to Hidden Pond?
No.
Why not?
Because I got no interest. We've got 12 ponds. What do we need another one for? It's hidden for a reason.
Yeah, let nature do its thing.
It's just another thing
Okay,
to
it
have
was-
to maintain.
When we walked it, remember, there was
I
cart
did
path.
not go, I didn't even bother.
Okay, well, there's cart path on about half of it.
Oh, what are you talking about? Yeah.
And then it would just be kind of clearing that.
That's on you guys. I don't know it's there
Extending the
and
cart path up too.
Could we just clear the brush off it?
Well,
I don't, it's been
It-
a couple years since I walked it, I
yeah,
don't
it
know
would
the
be- I
state
mean,
of it.
that
Are we talking
would-
about repaving or just
you were
clearing it out?
broken.
I don't know, do we wanna talk more about that, or do we wanna take it off the list?
Well, it sounds like there's more talk to be done, right?
Okay, so we will talk
to,
more-
if nothing else, better define what we are or are not
Gonna do.
gonna do.
Clearing brush for activities.
Yeah,
No.
You've sold me on a no for that.
clearing brush for activities.
So,
Oh,
you know,
out of
that,
the-
that whole
Oh, yeah,
wet
yeah, yeah,
soppy
yeah,
area,
yeah.
if we brush hogged all of that, then you could throw a frisbee.
I mean, you could lay down like some plastic for slip and slide. I mean, if it's wet
Sledding.
already, huh?
Sledding?
You know, a mudslide.
Okay, I'm gonna, does anybody want to further discuss?
No, it's
Clearing
beautiful,
that
it's
area.
beautiful back there, the deer are in there all the time, laying down, walking, sleeping, enough has been taken away from them on the golf course, I think leaving that is beautiful for humans and great for nature.
And I suppose the kids like
They do.
running around town in there too.
Yeah.
If I was a kid, that would be like the place to go. Yeah.
And
Do
that's honestly my concern with hidden paths, there are kids that are gonna go up there anyways.
Oh, to the pond, yeah.
Is there gonna be a snake that comes out of it, because there's not there?
That's why I don't go up there. There's
It's
snakes, I
our house.
know.
There's a snake in my boot.
No way.
Alright, well, we're gonna talk about that more later.
No.
Do we wanna talk about, it sounds like probably we do, about
Snakes.
Ooh,
increasing the planting
I have less hate for that.
that goes, more native plants, possibly. We tried sunflowers, but our timing was wrong, we kinda half-assed it. In that area, do we wanna talk about enhancing it through deliberate planting?
I say just leave it until, this is behind.
I think it's worth
We're
having
still
someone
on,
explore what the options are.
Wait,
Where we
are
at?
Yeah, I just wanna make sure.
This
we're
is kind of that
Planting
area
native plants.
Just
behind.
up the hill.
The very last line on the
No,
green
down the
space behind
hill
Lexington.
and up the hill.
Yes.
So
I'm
you come
confused.
down from Black Sycamore and around,
We are on
and there's
this
all
bullet
that
point.
area. Do we want to deliberately
Okay,
make
that's-
that
Yep.
Sorry.
prettier
He's explaining the location.
via use of
Jamie
nature?
just wants a bowl.
Yes,
I already think it's pretty.
let's discuss it further.
If there were some sunflowers, would it be prettier?
So
Yes, it
here's-
would.
here's
Okay,
my
then we'll
concern
discuss it
too,
some more.
is
Or something
I
to
feel
soak
like
up
there are a
water.
lot
Yeah.
of thistles and a lot more thistles every year, and
Yeah,
can we maybe control it so that the thistles don't take over 5 years from now, it's all thistles?
it's a good idea.
So yeah, we'll let David go crazy with some native plants down there.
Between David and Lisa, I'm just saying.
I know, right?
Okay, anything else at that area behind Black Sycamore Pond, other than, possibly further discussion on walking path and discussing some intentional plantings.
Do you, as a walker, ever have problems with kids riding their bikes down those hills? Like,
I step out of their way.
okay.
I mean, they do, but I mean, I feel it. I'm a sharer, so it doesn't. I love seeing kids outside. Period. I'm so excited to see
I've
kids out
seen
there.
them go down the hill, but since
They-
I wasn't down the hill, I didn't know if they were running people over or not.
You don't give them the
or-
old, you don't give them the clothesline.
No, I don't. However, if my kid was doing it, I might consider it. I'm just teasing.
You're the one that's picking.
No, I
It's not an issue.
I
okay.
see it. I mean, I do cringe that they're going to hurt themselves, but I mean, they're kids, so they'll get up and they'll keep going. So,
I was just wondering if there was any safety discussion that needed to happen, but it sounds like not. So carry on.
A speed bump would only encourage them.
yeah.
Or at
Look
least
at
a
this
warning
awesome
sign.
ramp they
Yeah.
just built for us.
Right, put a little piece of plywood on that speed bump. So the Quiet Brook Pond area, so this is the pond that has the single bench and then is very overgrown as you go up to Quiet Brook.
This was the
Past the
no-mow
bridge.
area we
Yes,
chose to
yes,
not mow.
this was
Right past
the
the-
place
Is this
that
one
a
of the
couple
color
years ago.
houses? It's down. You go over the bridge that needs repair, and it's off to the right. Okay, thank you.
I'd maybe think
It's
about
right
adding a
before the
bench,
top.
otherwise leave it alone.
So we several years ago said, let's advocate to council that they leave this alone. And I think that was a mistake. I thought it was the right idea then. I was wrong. It's just gross. It's just overgrown with weeds.
It doesn't look pretty like the other side.
Right.
I would agree with that.
The other side being the lily pond or?
The other side meaning like when you walk around the path, the area we were just talking about. It
Yeah.
actually it looks really good over there. But yeah, on the other side, it just
Yeah,
looks like
when you're
weeds.
down there and then you
Overgrown
look up
looks
and
good.
over and it's
Overgrown
just.
looks bad.
Yes, that's it.
So do we want to discuss landscaping that in some way?
I would
Yes.
I would say yes.
Better.
Rather than just letting it go do some type of intentional.
Yes.
Something around the edges and
And then.
It doesn't look nice and natural. It looks unkempt.
Right.
yes.
Just clean it up, but leave it natural.
I mean,
Well, but that's why we discuss it later, right?
right. Okay,
Today
moving
we
on.
are just deciding.
Right, so
to
I'm,
discuss it later.
yeah,
is
so
that
I'm gonna throw out my idea here for that and you can all shoot me down, but there is the Marios Fund that,
We have talked about
I don't know how long Marios has been gone. But these,
15 years?
but the fact that there is money for
Beautifying.
planting things that will permanently beautify the village that has not been spent, I think is just ridiculous.
Here's why. It does not, this is the horrible way to say this, but we don't have the manpower to make it happen. So we can go buy as many flowers as we want and, the things that we can buy with that. But then comes the process of who's gonna maintain it, who's gonna do it, who's gonna plan it, who's gonna do all of that. And that's where the conversation stops every single time. I've been here long enough to know this now, that I think if you go read previous recordings, you're gonna hear me say, oh, I can spend that money. I can spend it in 30 seconds, but I can't
Plant it in 30 seconds.
I can't plant it, get the plan, get all of that. So the answer is I'm in total agreement. I would love to figure out how to make this happen and I would do anything to make it happen. Except physically do it myself because I'm horrible.
Right.
But your nails look good. So, Mario's Pond or Mario's Fund? Is there a pond that's actually the Mario?
No.
So
No,
my thought would be to take that Quiet Brook Pond area and make it Mary Yost Pond.
I
Spend
get you.
her
That would be
money
so
on
cool.
things
Yep.
in the water and outside of the water and put her name
Well-
on a plaque on the bench and say, this is, we have done this once
I love it.
so that
Yeah.
the village can enjoy it, and we've done it like the lily pond in an intentional way so that it does not require regular and serious maintenance. Now, I
Best
need to
plan.
know what
It's worth talking about.
specifically the
That
fund
is-
can be used for.
We should
It
talk about
is.
that.
The perennial plants.
They have to come back every year.
Solely, not the installation
Not
of,
the
not
installation
solely
of,
the purchase
not,
of.
not hiring someone to design it for
Okay.
you.
Not delivery fees, not anything.
delivery
Okay.
fees, not the bench that you're gonna put a plaque on, not the plaque,
Okay.
just perennial plants.
And how much money do we think is in the fund
Roughly
right
20,
now?
1,000?
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah. A lot.
thought it was 25.
We've
but I
used-
could-
But it's
I
not,
have-
but it's not like an endowment
No.
of any sort. It's not growing, it's just.
No.
I have spent a
Yeah.
little bit of it.
Yeah.
I, like, a little bit of it. We've done a tree here or there, and that is the only thing that we have done with that money in the last couple of years. We have said the word Mary Yost probably 100 times in my last 6
Right.
years that I've been here.
Her
And
bequest
so-
is doing a great job of keeping her name alive in this village.
I can't wait to die and leave so
'cause
much money.
I don't know that anybody at this table even knows who she was.
No,
Never met her.
absolutely.
It's gonna be for thistle planting.
So, yeah, I mean, I
So
think
no,
it is
I
a
mean,
great
but
idea.
in the same way that we just, to do the amphitheater, we realized that if we spent some of our own money, then the free money made the project worth it.
Yes.
Right.
I would like to look into, if not for that area, I would like to look into ways that we could use that money so that the village can enjoy it as opposed to talk about it.
And I don't know that, I'm speaking for them, and this might be a great, huge, big project for Minerva Flora. I mean, it might be something that they would be willing to tackle. They have some new, they're really excited, they have some additional people, there's a couple projects that they're already trying to tackle. I mean, maybe this is a spring project that we could spend the next 6 months saying, okay, we have the money for the plants, what can you guys do? And if we need to clear out some things, I have somebody that we can call for that. So, I mean, we can really make it happen if we can get somebody that knows what they're doing planting.
Okay. So we will talk about it more.
Do we need more benches at that pond?
I do believe still have some money in the Parkland Fund, even after the shelter. So if you guys don't mind, let me go through that. And then it would be, maybe we could look into just getting a couple additional benches for, again, picnic tables and benches are one of the things that fortunately we have seen people use. So it would be nice if we could just go ahead and get a couple more, but we didn't want to go crazy.
Right.
I have done I can spend the money. And I have done pretty well spending that money, but we've been very cautious to not overspend on things that people wouldn't use.
Right.
So getting more
Good
benches, I don't
stewardship.
think is an issue.
So do we leave it on the list for the
Yes.
Rybrook pond? Okay.
Or we can move it up to general and miscellaneous.
Yeah, I mean,
Because the kind of the plan was, I remember when we bought the first ones, was
yeah,
have Chipper put them somewhere, and if we all see people sitting in them, we leave them, and if we see nobody sitting in them,
We
then
move
we
'em.
tell Chipper to move them.
yep. Yeah, people sit in them by the lakes, people sit them, the Black Sycamore Pond.
We'll move that up to a general then, and then it can be discussed
Yep.
for anywhere. Anything else around the Quiet Brook Pond that folks want to discuss? Okay, the tunnel area. I have cart path, I'm going backwards, I have cart path improvements on there because we know that there's and I'm sure this has been thought, but I had the thought the other day that I'm sure that those bridges were built to handle the regular traffic of golf carts.
Correct.
And now they only have foot traffic. I imagine that they can be done much less expensively out of things like wood than,
You would imagine.
Is it just that one over, there's two of them, okay. Cause I
Yeah,
I
probably
walked
not.
that the other day and I was
I
looking
mean,
at those
I-
bridges and was wondering.
Yeah, the biggest, pardon me, as I'm tying my tongue, the biggest expense of bridges like that is the engineering. That we are going to need an engineer to say what's can and can't be built there and design it and then install it. It could be wood, but it's still gonna be expensive.
And we do still have, this is very few and far between, but we do still have the UTV that will drive over them pretty frequently, lawnmowers, village equipment.
okay.
But I don't think they need to be made out of concrete
No.
and steel.
I
That's
would
what
agree.
they're made out of now. Yeah.
And more natural would look nice.
Is that something that council is discussing and the administration is discussing? Is that something that needs to be on our list?
So, at this point, we have gotten some estimates to fix those two particular bridges, and we all had a heart attack and we haven't recovered yet, so
Okay,
it's on the list.
Is it something for planning and zoning to have on our list, or is it something that you guys are gonna need to address no matter what?
I think council's gonna have to address it no matter what, because regardless of what we can do.
Alright, are we cool with bowing out of that?
I think
Sure.
As there's no planning to be done
it's
and
redundant.
just doing? Are there tunnel safety improvements? Are there things that need to be done to keep the tunnel more safe?
I
We
think
can
so-
certainly discuss things, right? Like we could put mirrors on either end, we could put, you know, there are things that could be done. I don't know how much discussion is,
Do we want to talk about them after today?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
How much of a hazard, I mean, like, how many safety issues are there? I guess that's the question.
I think,
I don't think people are getting hurt, I think people are vandalizing.
more vandalism than anything, as, you know, throwing rocks and, you know, the basic kid things that I think people are doing. I'm not saying it's right. But throwing rocks, painting on the walls, and, those are probably the largest things. So whether we did cameras, whether we did this, whether we did that, not advocating, just merely saying it's been tossed around.
Yep, but it's worth a conversation.
Yeah, I think it's a good conversation.
An art installation in the tunnel.
I think it's a cool idea.
Very cool idea, but it's the other side of it.
Right.
People defacing it,
Yeah.
hiring somebody
I mean,
to do
that's-
it.
I mean,
yeah, it's a
graffiti lasts for
volunteer.
years. I would think that we could make art intentionally last for years, somehow, some way.
Yeah, I mean, public art is a thing, and
Yeah.
graffiti's a thing, and
And there's
it's just part
the,
of
you
it.
know, the Greater Arts Council and folks that, and artists in town that you can, you know, done intentionally, could have it done for free.
Yeah.
And the kids who just want to write their stupid names are less likely, in my opinion,
Hopefully, yeah.
to do that over an actual pretty piece of art than a blank canvas.
Right, or
'Cause-
they've made the decision to do it and it doesn't matter what's there.
Right.
So we can talk about that again later?
Yep.
Okay, anything else around the tunnel that folks wanna talk about?
Nope.
Okay. Playground, basketball, shelter area. Security cameras, I know we have discussed in the past. Is that something we should continue to discuss?
They're
Is
still
that
on the
something
list.
that-
There will be discussion. I honestly think it's past this place, in my opinion. It's gonna end up being in front of council or administratively done, or who knows?
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I
if
think
it's-
we've
yeah.
all talked about that until we're done talking
Yeah,
about
we
it.
we have no power to do anything.
Actions, yeah.
So
At this point,
if
it's,
folks are gonna do, then we don't.
electric is being installed.
Okay.
So from there, we will discuss what is next steps. But we don't have electric as of today.
Okay. Creative mowing, this was, what I told some people, when
Oh,
I was in elementary school, the guy who
Yes.
lived next to the elementary school, parking lot, elementary school's up here, parking lot, and then just a little field. And he would, throughout the summer, come out and you would show up at the playground and one day, baseball diamond was just mowed into the grass. And you would play baseball for 2 weeks, and then he would mow every 10 yards, you know, in an opposite direction or a different height. And now you had a football field to play in. On the far side, you know, if you're standing at Brian's house, on the far side of the basketball court would be a place if we had a council person who loved to mow or chipper or whatever, would that be a place for intentional, what we'll call creative mowing, a more or less free thing outside of time that could be done for the enjoyment of the village children?
I know that the kids use that particular area. I was actually reached out to make sure that we left that grass. And I'm in total agreement leaving it grass, so having something for them, not opposed to it. Leaving it blank, I mean,
And, yeah,
either
you're
way,
talking-
as long as it's grass.
By
If
the
it-
basketball court or?
Right
by
next
the
to
bar-
it.
On the far side or next to it, yeah.
Yeah, right next to it.
Probably residents that can volunteer to help out.
Yeah, no, I think it should be left grass. I don't know about, you know, creative mowing.
I
Right.
like the idea.
Try it and see.
I mean, yeah,
Well-
you try it
It'll
once and
grow
if it
back.
doesn't
So
work,
the-
you let it grow out and you don't do it
Oh,
again.
yeah, sure. No, I think that as an idea, it depends an awful lot on somebody wanting to do it.
And their
Sure.
skill set.
And it's a fine idea, and if we ever find somebody who raises their hand, I don't think we'd ever say no, but I also don't know how hard we wanna look.
Right. I don't think
I
it's a
guess
bad
that's
idea. I don't think it's it's cost prohibited. It's
Yeah.
something that I don't
Yeah.
think there's any reason not to do it.
Right.
Other than we might not have someone to do it.
Somebody's willing to make their own passion project.
Correct.
Right.
It would be like a
Awesome.
fun,
I don't know, volunteer to do some cool stuff in the neighborhood like that? That had a zero turn?
I know, right?
Even if you just mowed like 4 circles, the kids would find something to play
You gotta
with
get a
later, right?
real
So,
mower. Make
just
it the
walk
grass, buddy.
Four
I mean,
circles.
seriously, it encourages their creativity. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is something new, and they come
Right.
to the park more. Like, I wonder what it's going to look like this week.
Well, and then you would see, I mean, if there's 15 kids that always go over there and they only want it to look like a football field or a soccer field, maybe that's what we do periodically. I mean, I'm just, maybe it's always, they always want baseball, so who knows? It might actually work out and they might love it.
They're also kids and they can play football on top of a baseball court.
Absolutely. Use your own
It's just the
imagination.
grass.
It is.
Maybe we can-
But leaving it grass is the number one thing I would love to see happen.
Okay. Discussions about playground improvements.
Absolutely.
Sounds great.
Okay.
And I will tell you that is on council person cameras top list for next year as well. So we will also be talking about that, and I already did take some of the recommendations that we talked about, some of those little things. So, but I think we do need to continue to talk about it, because he might not do everything this year. So I think it needs to stay on our list and their list, because I think it's pretty important.
We had the coolest brochure ever for a playground. You wouldn't believe how beautiful this stuff is in that magazine.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it should stay on
And
both.
how expensive.
Oh, sure.
$4.3 million.
Always is.
There is his talk, so I have tennis court on here, which could go up to general. Pickleball has been talked more about somewhere in the village. Tennis court I have heard talked about specifically
To replace the basketball court?
either to replace or next to. Do we want to discuss?
To
the
put it
tennis
next
court?
to, my answer is no.
I have a question.
Go for it.
I don't know what a pickleball court is. Is it bigger, smaller than a tennis ball court? Are they the
A
same?
pickleball court is smaller than.
Okay.
Can it
but
be
it's
a
like-
multi?
Could it be a multi-court?
So here's.
I don't know.
The short answer is yes, but
Okay.
if you want to be a good pickleball court,
Okay.
then the things that you have to do to attract the good players
Right.
prohibit it from being also a tennis court.
That totally makes
I
sense.
say we leave it on the list.
Okay.
Pickleball/tennis court, if you wanna do that.
Yeah,
Or
I
you
don't
could do
see there's-
separate.
We
I
wanna
do
do
think
that?
that's one discussion. I don't think we're going to.
Yeah, I think it's one
I
or
have a
the
hard time
other.
imagining we would ever have both.
Right.
And so, part of the discussion needs to be a trade-off, tennis or pickleball, if any.
Okay, so I'm going to remove tennis court from the playground basketball shelter area. I'm going to put it up with pickleball in the
No.
general discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I do, like, as long as I'm here, I will fight you guys to take away that green space.
Yeah,
Yeah, leave the kids some grass.
yeah.
So here's a question, so is the basketball court up for grabs at all, or is that like a definite, everybody loves that, we're keeping it?
I think.
No,
everybody-
lots of
Just
people
asking.
hate it,
I'm just
but
asking.
And lots of
it gets
people love it.
used a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I see people
Right.
out there all the time on
It
it.
is
Yeah.
constantly used, it hasn't, to my understanding, been any kind of a problem in a while.
Just the trash.
Yeah, just the trash, which, when you invite people, people make trash, right? I
Throw a party, see what happens.
yeah, exactly, right? And basically, we have this great amenity, invite people to come use it, and some people leave trash, that's just what it is.
Does this body want to discuss making significant changes to the basketball court?
No.
No.
The only change I would recommend it, or discuss, is changing out the goals from the uppy-downy kind to the stationarily fixed kind. But that's it.
And I would say when these are broken completely,
we'll replace them.
we would replace them and do the recommendation of what, I'm not in disagreement. That's been a headache for me since day one.
Yep.
Seems like such a good idea for actually.
Yeah, they break, people, we actually locked them out, and people broke the lockout
Well, I was
mechanism.
like walking by there the other day and it was like this high.
Yeah, and then when they,
And I was
yeah,
like,
you
"Ooh,
can,
4-year-olds.
you can
But-
lower them far enough that it damages the mechanism, you can
Correct.
raise them high enough that it damages the mechanism. It's, it is, thankfully MI paid for those,
Right.
right?
And they're expensive.
And they are really nice, really expensive ones, but, yeah, no, the uppy downy bit is agita all the time.
Alright,
Anything else that folks want to discuss around the playground basketball shelter areas?
Nope,
just leave it on the list.
nope,
Okay.
nope.
The Lily Pond area, additional landscaping and benches are kind of the same discussion. Way back when, there's a little cutout of grass and weeds along the forest wall, along the wall of the woods. And there was thought just of mowing that and putting a bench in the middle of it, so that folks could sit and have a picnic or sit and stare at the lily pond from a distance.
I don't know where the
From a
lily pond is.
That's the first one. When you come from the community building and you go down that hill before you get to the tunnel, it's the first one.
It's kind of up the hill and
Yes,
by the new
it's the first one on the
houses?
left.
Okay.
It's not up the hill, it's down the hill. So do you know where Green Line Way is?
Right behind there.
Okay, so you know the walking path that goes between the houses off
Yeah.
Green Line Way down the hill?
Mhm.
And
It's right
how
there.
there's water behind those houses?
That's it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, all that's groovy by me.
I think it's worth looking into.
Okay. Anything else around the lily pond? Okay, amphitheater area,
Is that easy to get down to, or do you still have to walk down the big grassy
Just
hill?
walk it out.
Big
you
down.
walk down the big grassy hill, that is the seating area
Okay.
for the
The
amphitheater.
big grassy hill.
I don't know if I was missing something.
So
Um,
for potentially, if, you know, once everything gets done, some of the thought was to put some benches along the top. So for people that could not get down there, that would be an option. I'm not saying that there wouldn't be additional options later, but at this point, that was the discussion, was to put some across the top. As of right now, as you know, the floor is done. There is no electric being installed there yet. The plan is to, hopefully 1st of January, begin that plan moving forward, or whoever is here to move that plan moving forward. But it would be right after the first of the year. We would start working on getting some electric, hopefully having everything completely done before Arts in the Park. That's the goal.
What does the budget look like as far as is the electric?
It was somewhere between 25,000-ish. That being said, I don't know that we wouldn't be doing additional things. That was just kind of the bare minimum when we talked, when we were doing a bigger master plan
Okay,
of
'cause it
electric.
was- Right, we had state funds and we had to chip in. Was the
Correct.
electric included in the project at that time?
That's a different topic.
Okay.
Is this something that we keep on our list, or is this something that it sounds like council's already got a plan?
Well, as far as council's plan goes, I mean, I feel like it's the amphitheater and the electric, but if you want landscaping, if you want another walking path to get down to there, if there's anything else that you guys are interested in doing, we're not really talking too much about that.
Yeah.
I don't wanna say we're not gonna talk about it at all, it's just not on our top priority list. Right now, our priority is to get some electric down there.
As long as it's not redundant, is what I
And
was trying to.
yeah, and
No,
we had.
I don't
had
feel like it
some-
is.
We had some state matching funds that Donna Kopecki got several years ago, and we worked through that process, and that's what paid for 66% in theory of what was basically rehabilitation, right? We wanted
Right.
Put it
turn
back
this
together.
overgrown thing back into an amphitheater. So the plan was to have a bare bones, and I think we've got that now. So now, do we want to try and talk about ways that we could make this an asset to the community as opposed to something that people walk by and go, oh, I forgot that was there.
And it looks
Deer
very
level.
nice.
It does look nice. I would love to
Play
see
some
it
drums on
used.
it?
I just love to
Does
see it
anybody
used.
have any ideas for it? I thought we just kinda like the way it looks now, or.
Well, we gotta
So,
get
I mean-
electric down there
Oh,
for
yeah.
people to be able to play and
Right.
maybe a movie night or something like that, but really it still hasn't been. Basically, this is a great idea, we think people will, if you build it, they will come. And then what the rules and regulations are gonna be for that is what we're gonna have to determine. Council will probably have to determine
But how much
once we get
stuff
electric.
they bring depends on whether they can get down the hill to it.
Oh, that reminds me.
So if you wanna have like the middle school orchestra have a concert, but there's 6
Right.
kids there, they can't haul their instruments down the hill.
Yeah, I don't know that middle school orchestra was ever on the
No, I'm
intended
just,
list.
I'm just
Yeah,
giving
no.
her an example. Tie her into the meeting and keep her interest, Brian.
Oh,
Work with
sorry.
me.
But no, the thought of
She
like
plays bass.
the thought of hanging a sheet and
Movie night.
having movie night and bring your
That's actually cool.
pop popcorn, bring your blankets, and everybody sit on the hill and project a movie. I mean,
That's easy.
that was Tony's first vision, and I think it's still the best
agree.
use of that. And then I would love to see a little acoustic, like Arts in the Park. I'd
Arts in
love
the
to
Park
see
would be so exciting.
having bands play down there. You could move a lot of Arts in the Park all the way down that walkway and have music down there and have music in front of the community building. Yeah, a lot of options, but they all involve electricity and probably some kind of lighting if it's going to be evening, and just some more finishing touches to be done.
find a way to get stuff done.
I mean, yes and no. Like, it's not as cumbersome of a hill.
Maybe last time I looked at it, I have some crutches. I'll look again.
Yeah, I mean, it's not,
Is there like a
it's,
tree
as
in
we
the way?
discussed, it's certainly not
Something like that?
ADA accessible.
No.
There's
and,
trees by there.
Somebody said something like the trees in the way when they poured the thing, it should be cut
concrete
down,
close to the
cut
tree.
Yeah,
down the
there's
house.
concrete by the tree, you might
Just
as well
remove
just
it.
chop down the tree.
I know,
'Cause,
why
I
wouldn't
mean,
we just
it's-
do that anyways?
Because we tried to save trees. in this
They tried to
neighborhood.
save the tree, and then they poured the concrete up to the base of the tree, so they might as well just cut the tree down, because the concrete's gonna kill the tree.
Is
The
it?
tree's gonna grow, yeah.
Guess we'll
You
find
have
out.
to keep your, if you're gonna do that, you have to keep your concrete or whatever outside the drip line of the tree. And the trunk, like, it'll be like the sign, right? Where the sign is like, in the tree, that concrete is only like a foot away from the base,
Yeah.
it's gonna be.
I should have chopped that tree down from the get, if it's in the way.
Well,
You know how much
Well,
it
it
costs to
wasn't
chop
in the way,
trees?
it wasn't in the way, it was just, they ignored,
Nature
like,
finds a
actually
way.
taking care of how they did it, so.
and we're moving on.
Okay, so community building and Minerva Lake. We now have Doc on the discussion for Minerva Lake. I think, until the community building until we can walk around it, I'm not sure what kind of ideas we're gonna have. Unless folks already have ideas. Walking path improvements, of course, would take care of, that aspect. Are there other things, I guess, if not so much about the community building, about
The lake.
Minerva Lake?
So I'm gonna take this time to make a plug. Next Wednesday, the 27th, 6:30-ish, here. The Lakes Master Plan with Mike Flickinger will be here. And he will be going over lots of information. You can come listen. It's not gonna be a time to talk and do all of that, but I'm expecting a lot of information, and that would be some great information to see what this plan is gonna do and then what we would need to do from there. Because I have a feeling there's gonna be some walking path discussions, and there's gonna be maybe a dock and a gazebo, and, because my vision is that, some sort of, I did a wedding out there not too long ago for somebody, and it would have been nice to have something that would just be something like a dock or just something. It would be amazing. Not saying it'll ever happen, but, as a dream.
Like a presentation like they did with the building, or is it just sort of
This
like
is
reading
gonna-
through a packet of papers?
It's gonna be all of the above.
Okay.
It's gonna be Mike explaining these packets of paper in English to me. I'm not saying that the other people don't understand what they're reading, but I see 123 pages. I'm hoping he narrows it down to about an hour.
That's how I feel about code.
That's exactly how I feel about code, especially on your fourth time.
Should we add,
That's at 6:30 next Wednesday.
Yes, and double check the calendar for it, but I'm positive it's Wednesday, 6:30, until I'm wrong. And I'm positive it's here again until I'm wrong. Do you remember?
Nope.
Okay, see, there you go. He's not any help. Pretty sure.
So it might be on the
You
website.
said
or-
next-
Should be on the website.
Okay.
Next Wednesday, 6:30, Mike Flickinger here.
Council work session Lakes, 6:30. The digital calendar doesn't say where.
Doesn't say where. But
so
I'm
it's a-
pretty positive it's gotta be here because we don't have anywhere else to go.
it's a work
We're
session, so
homeless.
it will not be online, right?
The audio will be uploaded for sure. It will not be videoed, but the audio will definitely be uploaded at some point, just because of the nature of it. And then, yeah, I'll make sure she does a post to remind people, because there's a lot of people that are interested in lakes. It's
Do
been a
we
long
wanna-
time coming.
Do we wanna add to our list, lake area beautification? Something
Sure.
like, something very broad that,
Yeah.
as we discuss and start to see what things look like.
And fish.
Floating pavilion.
Do we wanna add fish to Minerva Lake?
I think it's to talk about.
Yeah, we can talk about it. It's another one where
It may never happen.
once the lakes are
It's gonna
in a
happen.
healthful situation, they will come downstream, birds will deposit them. It's really then a matter of, do we want to stock particular species
the
for
health.
reasons?
Ecology.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is, in 5, 6, 10 years, if we have a plan, then folks can say,
Yep.
all right, have we ever discussed this?
Right.
Oh, there's,
Yes.
there's a living document, there is a green space plan,
Yes.
and did you know, in 2023, 24, they talked about this, and these were the hurdles why they didn't move forward. Guess what? Those
Yes.
hurdles are gone.
Yep.
Let's get some people to look at it again.
Yes.
Anything else about the community building area and Myrtle Lake area? North Lake. Boardwalk from Park Lane.
Do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think it's worth talking about. I'm hoping that we're gonna get some information on next Wednesday,
Yeah.
with a little bit of information, but if we don't, I mean,
Well, and
it's been discussed quite a bit.
yeah, and also I think, you know, these kinds of things where there are hopefully going to be aesthetic choices to be made and things like that, that is a place where we are all, you know, representing the village and the desires of the villagers as, you know, as appointed folks to say this is what we would like it to look like, and we did some legwork to see some of the, you know, we've given you some estimates on some choices.
Yeah.
You guys are in charge, but here's something you might not be thinking about. Anything else on North Lake area? Pool area. I have a walking path to better connect the village to the pool.
Agreed.
Anything else around the pool? So, you know, pickleball, things like that that are on the big list could end up near the pool.
Do we have a reason the parking lot area is not paved?
It's expensive.
Gravel and
Money.
potholes, okay.
That is part of the plan.
It's part of the
and-
drainage system.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It is
We're
part of the.
recharging the aquifer.
When you drain the pool.
It is part
the
of like
parking lot.
a thought, in my world, I don't know how much of their world it is right now, but when we get ready to do Valley, maybe seeing how much it is to do that. There is also a pool committee that is working right now on some renovation ideas and options, which we'll be talking about that here shortly. What can we actually afford? But money is huge. It needs done. It needs done for a safety factor, but there's also the easiest, nicest way to say this is there is not enough parking. So there needs to be a way to realign that parking lot to make it safe, because accidents happen down there probably more than we care to admit. Unfortunately, a lot of hit and runs.
Paved lot with lines that
Correct.
have arrows on them would
Correct.
probably go a long ways.
It absolutely would. So yes, that is, it's not done for money. I assume, again, I've only been here for a couple years, but I assume it's a lot to do with money.
Okay.
Well, we
I wanna
can,
add it to the list.
yeah, we can have that on the list for our discussions.
Yeah.
And then question also with the new football field track thing that's there. Are people gonna be using that area for parking to get to that more? Are we blocking it off?
I assume
How's that
some
working?
people will. My understanding is they're gonna pay on the other side and then they're gonna walk through. I could be wrong.
Bless you.
But we're gonna be closed a majority of the time when those September, October, when those are gonna happen. So I would hate to close that off for people to be able to access
Right.
the area.
But if it's open, then it's gonna take more damage to the gravel than just the summer season.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So, it's gonna be a big discussion. But I don't think we're really gonna know what that's gonna look like until next year. That said, I mean, the first couple of football games are probably gonna be in August, and we're open 4 to 8. So, not that we're busy, but
So we can hang out at the pool on Notre Dame with a football game,
there you go. Or watch it from the pool.
You're the announcer.
hear the announcer. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's just as good as listening to it on the radio.
Anyways, that was my only thing with the pool area,
What's a
was
radio?
asking about the parking.
Yeah, it needs done. There's no sugarcoating it. I mean, if you're gonna continue to have a pool, it needs done.
So is the pool area, since there's a pool committee, I mean, does it make?
Do we keep it on our
Do we
list?
keep it on our list? Yeah. that's
So
gotta be-
outside of the pool, I don't know that they're doing too much. However, depending on the flow of the pool, they could be using some of that space, some of that green space that's out there. So I don't know how much green space would be left. Again, I think that if that's your only place to put a pickleball or tennis courts or anything like that, I think it's at least worth keeping on the list right now. Because that, in my opinion, that is the only place you can put pickleball or tennis, and it may or may not work at some point. And again, I could lose my green space over there, but next to the basketball court one day, but in my eyes, I only see it happening at the pool area.
And yeah, I mean, if we were to, you know, the pool area doesn't have to be its own section on our discussions. If walking path improvements include getting to the pool if pickleball happens to include the green space at the pool. So I think we'll leave it on for now, but we're certainly not talking about anything that would affect you after you pay admission into the pool.
Right.
Right, anything that goes on inside that fence, we'll let those folks discuss. We're talking about the green space around the pool, which can't include the parking lot, of course.
It hasn't been brought up yet, and we're getting low on the list, so I figured that I'd at least throw it in
We're
there.
done with the list, so
Yeah,
it's
I know.
your turn.
Bring it.
My non-voting member status is coming into full effect. No, and maybe there's things I don't know, which is possible. Green Line Way to Minerva Lake Road. Talking about maybe a path to there to get to Valley Road Pool.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's,
That, I think
Yeah.
Is
that's
that
the
part of
was on the
I think
list.
I think
I
that
just want to
is
make
the-
sure that
that's exactly
Yeah,
what
I think
we
that
were
is the
just
walking
talking about.
path to better
access the pool.
better
Okay.
connect the
I'm
village
just,
to the pool.
I want to clarify just for my purposes because I'll be kicking myself like maybe they didn't mean that.
No, that's
I
exactly
didn't bring
what
it
I
up.
mean.
Okay.
I think
Do
the
we
whole
have a
neighborhood's on board for that.
I don't know if this is the right area, but I'm throwing it out anyways. The connector over to the isolated Jordan Road, folks want to walk to the pool too. I mean, is that under Village Pass or is that, where do we?
I think that
If you get us from Park Lane to Minerva Lake Road,
That's this one.
I'm more than happy to walk the rest of the way to the pool.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually-
at this point, we're open for any options, suggestions.
I mean, I just want, is it on the list somewhere that we can?
It's on every list
Keep it
Brady and I
alive.
have ever had.
Yeah, so
Even if we're
North-
talking about
under North Lake, we've got a boardwalk to get from Park Lane over North Lake to Minerva Lake Road.
Okay.
I don't know that there is a reasonable path to get us straight to the pool.
it might be like walking around the lake, coming around that way.
Yeah, it's not on there.
Yeah.
But
would-
I think,
I think pathways, infrastructure in the neighborhood, connecting everything to everything is the best, smartest idea we could
yeah,
ever.
I think,
I should print it.
we would take just about anything.
yeah, I think that can be, you know,
Like 24 minutes.
that could be the 10-year plan under walking path improvements.
I like it.
But
No
again,
isolated streets.
I think, well, and again, connecting, like, the thought of me being able to get to a community event at the community building on foot in 8 minutes.
Or a bicycle, how
Oh, yeah.
cool would that be?
Right.
Because right now I have to walk to Cleveland Avenue, which is 3/4 of a mile, well, half a mile,
And then on
Oh, yeah.
Cleveland Avenue.
then down Cleveland Avenue to
Actually,
Wildwood, and then in and around and around and down. And so if I want to walk my kids to the community building, the second we get there, they gotta pee, and we need to leave.
Yeah, or the community building, or to go over to.
Let alone the basketball court.
Right, yeah,
The
yeah, to get to the
playground.
playground, I cannot, because the second we get there, we have to leave or
Go visit Brian.
knock on Brian's door, which we have yet to do.
Give us time.
It's all
there's
good.
a sidewalk right there that the trees are or bushes are overcoming the sidewalk.
Where?
Cleveland Avenue. and
Did you
Wild-
go by it today?
No, I didn't. This was something that was brought up a week and a half ago.
Okay,
So
well.
probably got handled, I'm guessing, by that. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna shut up.
I'm just teasing. Tanner was out there doing it today.
Oh, he was in the
Yes.
bushes.
I really thought that's where he was going. Sorry.
Well, never mind.
Oh, I was just waiting for it. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Check. Done.
Done.
You saw these like boardwalks across the lake.
Yes, I love boardwalk.
So now that we have
So
gone
that's-
through the list,
that's
what's
the grand.
what's
I didn't
missing?
mean to go from Park Lane.
I know come tomorrow, the next day, I'm gonna have it, but
I mean, I think that's a great list to start.
yeah.
And this is a living list. We have, you know, knocked a small handful of things off of it. I will recompile this over the course of the next week or so and get it sent back out. This is going to be a living list until it's submitted, and then after it's submitted, we kind of start over. Like I'm not saying we're going to do it again, but this should be a document that can be updated every couple of years to say, guess what? The Park Lane connector is done. That is no longer on the green space planning list. This new thing has arisen.
Why does it have to be like a one and done for the year? Could it be more of a seasonal thing?
We could do it as much as we want.
Okay.
We have so few actual responsibilities that mean anything. This is one place for us to plant a flag on behalf of the village and say, hey, council, these are the things that we think
Well,
would make things nice for everybody.
what made me think that was the discussion of, hey, this conversation started and then it was too late in the season and so it fizzled out and died. If we could start the conversations in the right time
Right.
period to be more effective, that might be a great point.
Well, yeah, and if we've got a list, we can say, hey guys, it's spring now. Here are the 5 things on our spring list. Why are you not talking about these? And again, we spent a lot of time a few years ago putting together a list, but it was not a printed document with paragraphs and headers and things like that, and it was largely ignored. And so we're going to put something together that says this is what planning and zoning wants you to look into.
Love it.
Do we wanna have something that says more, I mean, there's the boardwalk from Park Lane and the walking path to connect Green Line to the pool, but the other connectors, like across, in the, I wanna say the Legacy area, like, what is that?
I know what you're talking about, like the streets that go.
You're talking-
Lakewood to.
You're talking about the right-of-ways that were never built.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, so, you could throw that on there for discussion, right? The right-of-ways between Lakewood and Alder Vista and Maplewood. Hell, you can throw Westbridge on there too while you're at it.
So
I'm
I
gonna put maximizing use of right of ways.
So
Perfect.
I have a thought. Okay, I don't wanna, or, does anybody have any other ideas? Before I say mine? I have an ending idea,
Oh,
but I don't know if we're ending yet.
Does
Do
anybody
we
have
have more?
anything they wanna add?
So, next meeting
Yes,
is what? When? Let's do that.
couple weeks.
And what's our plan?
So I'm going to narrow this list down to, so that we have a full
Okay.
working list.
Mhm.
So how about this? I will narrow the list down. I will give everybody 5 points. So your homework is, once I send the list, I want you to pick 5 things that you most want to work on. And
Okay.
you give them each 1 point, and then we'll tally up the things with the most points, and we'll
Okay.
start having hard discussions about those.
So I think walking path is probably gonna be most everybody's, just to start with. Could we get some maps and could we get to know exactly what our obstacles are in the walking paths? This is what our obstacle is with Jordan Road, how do we overcome it? The walking paths from Lakewood and all of those. I have been understanding, and this is, I'm gonna say my own fault. I have not walked a couple of those. I'm told that there might be, things built on them.
yeah,
So,
they're
if-
on the right-of-ways between Lakewood and Alder Vista and
Right.
Maplewood. There are definitely residents who have built on those, either driveway aprons or a shed.
So
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked about this until we're purple. And at some point, we have to get to the point that, and this is definitely not a throw stone at anybody. I feel like I have continually heard the Jordan Road every single day. And then you hear those little areas. Let's get them off the list. If we can't build because somebody has done it, let's just say, okay, this is walking path A, B, C, and I don't necessarily mean off the list, maybe we knock down somebody's shed, but if it's
gonna
not
say, if it's
possible
not-
to do, or
Let's quantify that
Yeah.
and move on.
right,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
if we could actually take, and I'm not saying that you wanna do it on this next meeting, but then in the next meeting or two, maps, issues, this is what the problem is with this one, and just, these are our 10 places that we would, I know that we could go forever, but let's start with our top ones. Jordan Road, what's the issue? Elmhurst, what's the issue? Lakewood,
So,
I would like a map
I-
that just shows literally, here's where they are.
right,
Green spaces
Yeah.
and those,
a map to lay it out visually is nice.
Right.
I would say that this body only has the expertise to make assumptions about what
Okay.
the roadblocks are, right? Sure, there's definitely a shed in the way. That
that's
we
kind
know.
of what I'm looking for
But
to
there,
start
there
with.
will be beyond that
Jordan's gonna be hard.
engineering concerns, right? Other kinds of concerns that we may not be able to
I would agree with that,
enumerate.
but there's some that we already know.
Sure.
There's a shed,
Yeah,
so.
well, but we can We can knock
Can
down
we,
the shed.
can
'cause
we
it's
task
on
Eric
our
with
land.
that?
Maybe.
With putting
Yeah.
maps together for us? And
Absolutely.
if we can get
Uh-huh.
pictures of any sort or anything that would be helpful for us.
And I have no problem doing, if somebody tells me where to go, or even sending Brian to get a couple pictures and we can blow them up and bring them over. So I think that would be a cool idea, just to,
I have
Do like a-
couple- He emailed me a couple topographical maps, and then other
Uh-huh.
ones of the neighborhood, I just can't access them to my email.
if you come into the office, we can try to get them.
Okay, cool.
Or you can forward, yeah, however we gotta do it. Mm-hmm.
12 emails on the.
Okay, how does October 18th look for the next meeting?
No issue.
Nothing planned yet.
So let's do this. I will, today's the 20th, by the 27th, I will send out this updated list. We will put walking path improvements as an agenda item.
Okay.
And then I'm still going to ask everybody
Absolutely.
to take your 5 points and give me the things you care about.
Can we, do you want us to use walking paths as one of them, or do you
No.
want us to skip that one?
Skip
Okay.
that one. That will be its
That's
own
the number one
agenda
thing on my
item.
list.
Cause that's a never ending, I feel
Right.
like.
It's a given.
And so I will give everybody until, and I'll put this all in an email, I'll give everybody until the 11th to do that. And then I'll turn that around, as long as everybody can get it to me on time, in a day or two. And then we'll have almost a week to look at
The list.
the actual list of things that we're gonna start discussing. And then, yeah, Mayor, if you're willing to ask Eric to just pull together a comprehensive list of right-of-ways and cut-throughs and potentials, and then
And if-
he
And
can
a
maybe,
picture like this, so we can see where they are in relation to
That's
what.
what I have.
yeah.
And if anybody
But
has
the
any, send them
whole-
to me too. Yeah, if anybody has some walking paths that they are curious of, send them to me too, and that'll at least add, we'll make sure that we're getting the ones that we think we're getting.
And you're just saying pick 5 topics, not
The,
a ranked choice.
the
or anything
ones,
like
no,
that.
yeah, you have 5 points, each point counts equally.
Okay.
But, you know, if you give a point to the same thing that JP does and that I do, that now has 3 points and it's now ranked higher than the thing with 1 point.
Can I stack all 5 of
No.
my points on one?
No,
One point
That's
each.
what I was
can't.
thinking.
1 point each, spread apart.
We're about
Only
to have
5?
And that will, yes, and that will give us,
Don't have
and that will give us the first thing at this next meeting to discuss.
Does everybody
And
wanna
then
know what
once we've
mine's
got,
not
once
gonna
we've
be?
got
I love
those
that.
things figured out,
We'll revote.
we'll do this exercise again until all the stuff on our list has been discussed. But let's
Start
start
with
the
the-
things
yeah,
that
I agree.
people are most passionate about or that people
Meetings
think are,
will continue.
like, I'm gonna put
Till
bad
the-
houses on there because I think it's probably gonna be one of the
Still
easier
do the
things.
travel agency thing. What's the name
I just
of
have a
your
suggestion. If we had
Destination
10
travel.
points,
destination?
this way we
travel?
can allot
It's
2
actually Destination
to the
Travel
ones that we
Services.
think that are higher.
Destination
That way,
Travel
or
Service.
maybe if we got 6
No.
points, we only gave 2
5.
for one item.
One each.
Because you don't wanna work on 10 things, 5 is just enough.
Alright, fine.
Right, and keeping in mind that
If
we're
we
not all
each
gonna
pick-
agree on things, so we're gonna have.
If we each pick 5 different things, you now have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35.
I just want more
Thanks.
points.
Right. And Terry makes 40, and so realistically, we're gonna have 25 or 30
Just
things on
divide
the
yours in
list.
half and you can vote 10 times, I don't care. Just throw a 0.5 up there.
Don't make my life harder than
Alright, so poor Brady, you have to do
Math
minutes
and math.
and math.
Yeah, Tommy's gonna do my minutes for this meeting.
That's nice.
I'll do all the work sessions.
Alright,
You're gonna be the first voting member that moves
Okay,
that?
and then 11th,
Or non-voting that moves into voting one
the
day?
list.
When it,
Oh, wait,
when's your
so
last?
Oh.
Are
We have to the.
Yes,
when
I
is
need
your
to-
time? Weren't you gonna like drop off of this committee because you had so many other committees or no?
Yes.
Okay.
But not right
So
now.
I'm gonna advertise it in the next, newsletter.
Oh, okay.
You guys
and
are
give
stuck
it
with me until we find somebody.
I've already had one person, but I wanna post it, so.
Isn't Tommy stepping up to?
Okay,
Brady?
I was just checking the,
You're non-voting,
I'm non-voting, yeah.
yeah, he's non,
voting? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I don't matter here.
Nothing.
Alright.
okay,
matter.
so, village rules say that residents shall have 2 minutes to address specific items on that meeting's agenda. Responses to questions from the commission will not be counted in the allotted 2 minutes. So would anybody from the public like to say anything they'd like about what we discussed tonight?
Has to be on topic. Push the start button when you're ready to start.
I know that when we first started discussing the amphitheater, when I first went down and saw it, my first thing that popped in my mind was be able to do Shakespeare in the Park. And I would love to do that. I would love to put on a play and do Shakespeare in the Park. That sounds like so much fun to me. And I'm pretty sure that there are going to be other people, especially students like me, who would love to do that as well. So I want to make sure that there's definitely a stage prepared to be able to do something like that and to be able to perform a play, and make sure that we have some sort of backstage or somewhere you can go when you're not performing. Because I went to put on a play and we didn't have that. It was really hard.
Thank
And
you.
that's it.
And that's it, okay.
I'm for it.
Thank you for sharing. Wilhelmina Conger, 4764 Block 6 Drive. Nylon Conger, do you have any comments? You don't have to, it's okay. But you can, it has to be on topic.
I think so.
You ready?
Yeah.
And go.
So, about the ducks situation, I keep like seeing like geese around the neighborhood, and I want them like not off the street, like out of my way when I try to walk my dog or whatever. And it would be, I don't know, nice to have space to walk around.
Alright, that's a good point.
I agree.
Agreed.
You walk a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
Alright, anything else that you wanna comment on? Alright.
Thank you.
Well, thank you
Thank you.
both.
Sort of like a goose community center where they can go to get off the streets.
Yeah.
I'll
They
let
can
my
play
dog
basketball.
chase.
Yeah, they could play
Turn the
basketball.
Rehab center into the goose rehab center.
Ah.
Send all the geese there.
That lovely idea.
I'll put
Alright,
them
Look at us
in
thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
We ready?
Thank you, everybody.
Are we officially adjourned?
Sit adjourned.
We're adjourned.